All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that's kind of fascinating and, well, a bit unsettling. We're talking about the Disney Channel and how they haven't always treated their young stars so well.
Yeah, it's definitely a side of Disney we don't often see.
Right, like behind all the magic and sparkle, there is some stuff that's, well, not so magical. So for this deep dive, we're looking at a YouTube video essay. It's called, get this, The Exploitation of Vanessa Hudgens' Deep Dive.
From a channel also called Deep Dive.
Uh-huh. Yeah, very meta, right. But even the title kind of hints at what we're going to uncover. Like, it wasn't all singing, dancing, and happily ever afters for these Disney Channel stars, right?
No, not exactly. The essay argues that Disney had this whole system, almost like a factory, for manufacturing
The
stars.
Star Factory. Okay, now I'm really interested. Tell me more.
Well, they'd find these super talented kids, often really young, and put them through this intense training, singing, dancing, acting, the whole deal. And of course, they had to maintain this squeaky clean image all the time.
So it's like they were creating these perfect, marketable products, not really nurturing young talent, huh?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And the essay talks about Kiki Palmer. Remember her show, Kiki and Jamal?
Oh, yeah. Vaguely.
Well, it never actually aired, but Disney used this storyline, a young girl moves to LA to chase her dreams as a way to attract young talent. It was this aspirational thing.
Wow. So they're selling this dream of stardom, but at the same time, they're controlling every aspect of these kids' lives. Seems a little ironic.
Absolutely. And this whole thing about selling the Disney dream, but also showing the machinery behind it, it comes up in a lot of their shows. It's kind of like a meta commentary on the whole system.
I see what you mean. Okay, so we've got this star factory, this image of perfection they have to maintain. But when did things start to, crack, expose the not-so-perfect side of this whole Disney facade?
Well, the essay really focuses on the rise of musicals on the Disney Channel. And then, of course, there's the Vanessa Hudgens photo scandal.
Oh, yeah. High School Musical, huge phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
But I guess behind those catchy tunes, there was a darker story happening.
Exactly. And it all started, believe it or not, with an episode of Even Stevens. Apparently, a musical episode did so well that Disney execs realized they had something big. The essay even points out the irony of the CEO saying High School Musical wouldn't exist without that Even Stevens episode.
So they, accidentally stumbled onto this formula that changed everything.
Yeah, pretty much. And High School Musical launched so many careers, including Vanessa Hudgens, but her Disney journey took a dark turn in 2007 with that photo scandal.
Right, the leaked photos. And I think it's important to remember that she was the victim here. She was 18, and those photos were private, meant for Zac Efron, her boyfriend at the time.
Yeah, the essay does a good job of contrasting all the media frenzy and shaming Vanessa went through with her own words. She talked in a teen magazine interview about wanting to be a good role model for young girls.
It just shows the hypocrisy of the whole thing.
Totally. And then there's Disney's reaction. They made her apologize publicly, but they also made sure she stayed on for High School Musical 3.
Yeah, which was probably more about protecting their investment than caring about Vanessa, to be honest.
That's the question the essay raises. Was Disney putting its brand above Vanessa's well-being? And there's another layer to this that makes it even more complicated. Vanessa's ex-boyfriend said the photos might have been taken when she was underage, which could involve, child pornography laws.
Wow, I didn't know that. That adds a whole new dimension to the situation.
It really does. And this was
Yeah.
2007, right? We didn't have the same awareness about online privacy that we do now. Think about the fappening or that 2015 UK law against revenge porn. Those were turning points in how we understand these things.
It's crazy how much things have changed, even just in terms of how we talk about these situations.
Right. And the essay includes this really powerful quote from Vanessa from 2020. She talked about feeling violated and how the leak really messed with her sense of privacy even years later.
That's heartbreaking. It shows how these things can have such a lasting impact, even if they seem like just a scandal at the time.
And Vanessa's story wasn't unique. This was a pattern for Disney.
Okay, so now we're seeing a bigger picture. Disney controlling its stars' images, this pressure to be perfect, and the willingness to put the brand first, even before the people. It's a lot to take in.
It is, and we're just scratching the surface. The essay goes into detail about other Disney Channel stars who went through similar things. It shows how systemic this problem really was.
Okay, well, let's get into those other examples, and I want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, so this whole thing about Disney controlling their star's image, even off-screen, it's a big part of Bella Thorne's story.
Bella Thorne. Oh, right, she was on Shake It Up.
Yeah.
Wasn't she pretty young when that started?
13 when the show premiered.
Wow, okay. And the essay says she almost got fired at 14. Was it partying or something? Typical teen rebel stuff.
No, nothing like that. She was wearing a bikini.
Seriously, a bikini. She was 14. That seems pretty normal, especially if she was on vacation or something.
Right. But Disney's all about image, even in their stars' personal lives, apparently.
It's like they wanted these kids to be on all the time, representing the brand 24/7.
Exactly. It just shows how much control they had over these young performers.
So we've got Vanessa's photos, Bella's bikini. Are we seeing a pattern here?
Oh, definitely. And the essay brings up Adrienne Bailon from the Cheetah Girls. Her story takes this image control thing to another level.
The Cheetah Girls.
Yeah.
Love them. What happened with Adrienne?
Well, she had a photo leak scandal too, but hers is a bit more complicated. At first, she said her laptop was stolen and it had nude photos on it. She even apologized publicly, like Vanessa did.
Okay, so similar situation. But you said it gets complicated.
Yeah, because later, her publicist at the time, Jonathan Jackson, the guy from General Hospital.
Wait, hold on. Lucky Spencer was her publicist. That's a wild crossover.
Yeah, small world. Anyway, Jackson wrote a book, and in it, he said they made the whole laptop theft story up, like it was a publicity stunt.
Whoa, trying to spin the narrative, huh? Seems risky.
Very risky, and it kind of backfired. Jackson even claims Adrienne released the photos herself and blamed him, but he had emails that supposedly proved it was her.
Okay, so now we have two completely different stories.
Yeah.
Who do we believe? It's a he said, she said thing.
Totally, and we may never know the truth. But what's interesting is that Disney, once again, made Adrienne apologize, even with all this conflicting information.
So it seems like no matter what, Disney's priority was always protecting their brand, even if it meant throwing one of their stars under the bus.
Yeah, that's the theme the essay keeps coming back to. And this next example really highlights that. Miley Cyrus and that topless photo shoot she did for Vanity Fair.
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal. She was only 15 then, right?
Yep, 15. And the photo itself wasn't even that bad. She had a sheet draped around her, back exposed, but it caused this huge debate about what's appropriate for young stars.
I remember that. People were arguing whether it was exploitative or artistic expression.
Exactly. And the essay says Miley didn't see it as a big deal at the time. She even said she thought it looked pretty and natural. But of course, Disney had a different reaction.
They went into damage control mode, didn't they?
Totally. They said Miley was manipulated and made her apologize, even though she was fine with the photo at first.
So even when the star herself was okay with something, Disney still stepped in to control the narrative.
It shows how much power they had over these kids' lives and how they weren't afraid to use it to protect their image.
But what's interesting is that the essay says Miley, now that she's older, has said she regrets apologizing. Like, she feels like she was pressured into going along with Disney's standards, even though it went against how she felt.
Yeah, it's like she's reclaiming her agency, looking back and saying, hey, I was just a kid, and they made me feel ashamed of something that wasn't wrong.
It makes you think about the long-term effects these situations have on young stars. And it makes you wonder if this stuff is still happening today, maybe in more subtle ways.
That's a good question. We've seen progress with awareness and laws, but the entertainment industry can still be tough on young people.
Absolutely. And it makes me think, as viewers, as consumers, do we have any responsibility here? We're the ones watching the shows, buying the stuff, fueling this whole machine.
That's an interesting point. The essay doesn't really go into that, but it's worth thinking about. Did we, by wanting this perfect image, contribute to the pressure these stars faced?
It's definitely something to consider. But beyond that, I keep thinking about the ethics of it all. Is it right to put so much pressure on kids, to expect them to be perfect role models when they're still figuring themselves out?
It's a tough question. On one hand, these kids chose to be in the spotlight. They're talented, driven.
True, but they're still kids. And the essay shows how much control Disney had over their lives, both on screen and off. It's got to be hard to deal with that kind of pressure when you're so young.
The essay definitely leaves us with a lot to think about. It doesn't give easy answers, but it does raise important questions about these situations and how we can do better.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? Makes you think about all those Disney Channel shows we watched growing up. Like, there was this whole other side happening that we had no idea about.
It definitely makes you question that whole image of innocence Disney's known for.
Totally. And it makes me wonder, if this was happening at Disney, what about other parts of the entertainment industry? Are there other places where young talent gets exploited like this?
I think that's a valid question. I mean, the essay focuses on Disney, but it brings up bigger questions about child stars in general,
Yeah, it's like these kids are in the spotlight so young, with all these pressures most adults would struggle with.
Right, and they're surrounded by adults who are supposed to be looking out for them, but, maybe they're more focused on the kid's career or how much money a project's making.
Yeah, it's got to be a tough situation. And the essay doesn't really give easy answers, but it makes you think about how these situations happen and, well, how we can do better.
One thing that really struck me was how much our views on these things have changed. Think about Vanessa Hudgens back in 2007. When those photos leaked, people mostly blamed her, shamed her.
Yeah, but now I think people understand that victims of these leaks are, well, victims.
Exactly. And we see that change in laws, like that revenge porn law in the UK. There's more recognition of the harm these leaks cause. It's not just the pictures themselves, but the violation of trust and privacy.
It's good to see that progress, but it also shows we still have work to do,
Mm.
right? In terms of making things safer for young performers.
For sure. And that's where the essay's final thought really hits home. It asks us to think about whether these things are still happening today, maybe in different ways.
So are we repeating the same mistakes, or have we actually learned from them?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's one we all have to think about as people who watch and enjoy entertainment. We have to be aware of what's happening and demand better for these young performers.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. It's made me rethink how I see the entertainment industry and the responsibility we all have.
I think that's what's great about deep dives like this. They challenge what we think, make us ask tough questions, and leave us wanting to know more and make things better.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We hope this got you thinking and maybe even inspired you to do something. Until next time, keep questioning and stay curious.